So I'm doing something a little bit different today. I took my action camera, and as soon as I got in a Didi, which is basically a Chinese Uber, I just hung it right outside the window, and voila, we have a late night Didi. Kind of cool, huh? Well, it's kind of something cool to look at while we're yakking on. And what are we yakking on tonight? Well, we're talking about face mask. Yes, I know, COVID. We're kind of all sick about talking about COVID. But it's kind of interesting because recently I posted an article on Facebook where I said, well, I'm kind of surprised a lot of people are so against face masks in America. I'm here in China. I mean, it's pretty much a done deal. I mean, outside of the subway train, I almost never see people wearing masks on the streets anymore because, well, COVID's pretty much in the rearview mirror here in China, largely in Taiwan, Japan, and a lot of places where face masks is kind of more of the culture. And it used to be kind of the culture in America too. If you look back at the 1918 influenza pandemic that went around at that time, everybody was wearing masks. As a matter of fact, the American Red Cross was telling people just to take gauze or whatever they could use and wrap it around their face a couple of times and call it a day. And well, these days people seem to be kind of against the face mask. I kind of got lambasted on Facebook recently. Some of my closest friends, actually, they were, well, it's my right not to wear a mask. Well, kind of thought your rights stop where someone else's start. And people going on about how, well, my city never enacted a mask mandate. Well, they probably should. And do you really need a mandate to do something, good? It's kind of like, wearing, dark pants and peeing yourself. You may not see the difference, but you can certainly see the warmth. And like anything else, I'm just kind of surprised that so many people are against this whole wearing masks thing. As a matter of fact, just look at the numbers. I mean, you go into John Hopkins' COVID-19 website, and it shows that the countries that have been wearing the mask, the virus has pretty much been nipped in the bud. Pretty much everywhere but in Europe and in America, where people are standing up for their rights not to wear masks. I mean, we even have COVID parties, which is just kind of ridiculous. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's up with that. Here in Shanghai, I pretty much do carry a couple masks with me at all times, of course. And whenever we get on the metro, they require it because there's a lot of people in a close contact area. But there really hasn't been any new cases in Shanghai. There was a little bit of a flare-up. I think there was, like 9 cases, literally 9 in Qingdao here in China. And the local government did test 9 million people. And you're thinking that's a lot of cost. Well, think of the cost for not testing people. The cost of loss of business, loss of manpower, and obviously loss of life. Seems like a pretty cheap price to pay to actually test a lot of people, right? Well, yeah. In America nowadays, we have so many people that are just very reluctant against wearing masks, and the ones that are wearing the masks seem to be wearing especially cloth-covered ones, which I guess is better than nothing. You got a lot of people talking about the science behind the COVID-19 and the nanometers of the virus versus what could pass through a mask. And again, I suppose you have a point. But the idea behind the wearing the mask has never been to actually stop the virus. It's basically to stop the water droplets that spread the virus, When you cough, your cough vapor or when you sneeze for that matter, is going out about 4 to 6 feet. Whereas if you wear a mask, you have a surgical one or just an old pair of underwear strapped over your face, which admittedly, wearing a pair of panties over your face is never a good idea. It doesn't exactly look sexy, but it does stop the water droplets from going out, and that pretty much is what stops the virus. Your wearing a mask protects me. My wearing a mask protects you. And so I'm kind of surprised there is such reluctance against this right now. As a matter of fact, some people are actively going out and making a big deal when they go into a grocery store that I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to do it, and they don't want to social distance. And I suppose this is primarily why we have such a flare-up of COVID-19 in the States right now. A lot of people are blaming the politics, but oh goodness gracious, man, I hate politics in every country. In the West these days, it seems like we're pretty much offered one of two choices. Would you like the poo-poo, or would you like the poo-poo? And got to think about this now. You know what? I think I'll take the Poopoo. And, well, there you go. Um, we pretty much have the choice between the crazy boss who doesn't listen to anyone or the demented guy who is kind of freaky around kids. So, yeah, what a choice, right? And the end of the day, of course, uh, voting is our patriotic right as an American. Even me living here in Shanghai, I'm still going to vote absentee ballot, of course. My wife is not an American citizen, so she can't vote. But, of course, she does have some political pressure, and so she has her own political ideology as who she's going to proxy vote for if she could, in any case. Later on, when she becomes an American citizen, of course, she'll have that right and responsibility. But I digress. COVID-19 does seem like it should have been over quite a while ago. A lot of experts are saying that the mask alone could potentially nip this in the bud. And if we look at the lessons from past pandemics, such as like the 1918, influenza pandemic, this, otherwise known as Spanish flu, that wrapped around the world several times, we've got the model of how to stop this thing. And technology's come a long way in the last, 100 years. So certainly we could knock this thing out. And I'm not talking about running around with the, N95 mask or anything like that. Just a regular surgical mask does the trick. Picking a box of those is pretty cheap, and for those of you who don't want to, you can make your own mask. They say, some sneezes can even propel up to 25 feet. But if you wear a mask, it's just done and over with. So I don't really understand what the whole reluctance against wearing the mask are. I do know, however, if you do go on Facebook and you show a pro stance towards wearing the mask, it does seem like a lot of people are just going to lambaste you for it. So, and like anything else, you gotta watch what you say, because social justice warriors and all, right. Of course, this is not the only thing one needs to do. You need to wash your hands. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir. Most of you guys know this, believe this. And if they followed this, the CDC and the WHO together said this alone could knock it out. And, I'd like to see the world get back to normal, travel around the world, business, commerce, you names it. We're going to have a little bit of catching up to do around the world as it is on this. Already, we've had a lot of businesses go out of business. We've got businesses that have raised prices. You're trying to catch a flight international these days. And not only do you have the cost of the ticket has gone way up, but then you have your quarantine. My wife actually is in quarantine right now. That's right. Bunnies is serving her time in a small hotel room here in Shanghai. And she just flew up from Hong Kong, and it was a requirement. So not only does the cost of travel seem to have increased exponentially thanks to COVID, but then you add in the cost of a 2-week stay in a quarantine plus your COVID test. And yeah, the price of everything has gone way, way up. Good buddy of mine flew from Shanghai over to Atlanta, Georgia, and he ended up paying about $4,000 for a flight, which is just highway robbery. They might have shaken him down with a gun and a knife, and it would have been better off for him. But what can you do? So yeah, bottom line, I know I'm preaching to the choir, and most of you guys are pretty good about this. But guys, can we just put on a mask? How difficult is that? A lot of people are anti because, they don't like it. Well, come on. Nobody likes wearing a mask. Yeah, it does make breathing a little difficult, but, people are going to try to use science and pervert the numbers any way they can, of course, and say, well, it lowers my blood oxygen level. No, it doesn't. I've seen several studies, actually, that, yeah, you may have to, use a little more effort to breathe, but it does not lower your blood oxygen level. There was actually a medical doctor on YouTube recently. I'll put the link in the comments. He wore 2 masks at the same time, plugged in the blood oxygen meter, and there was no change whatsoever. The filtration efficiency of the mask is, basically the same as a scarf. As far as breathing, so it's not going to stop everything. Sure, it's not any more comfortable, but my goodness, it is a small price to pay for getting this thing under control. And that really is the goal, isn't it? To get this whole thing in the rearview mirror so we can all whine and complain about 2020. And unfortunately, that really seems to be the modus operandi these days, is so many people would rather bitch and whine about COVID than actually do anything about it. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Anyway, guys, I appreciate you kind of listening and enjoying me for a little late night Didi through the streets of Shanghai. If you like anything else, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, we'll catch you in the next video. I'm SnarkyGuy, and this has been some late night Shanghai Didi. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.